We are continuing our look at the new features in Darktable 5.6. There is so much good stuff. Let's go. Hi, and welcome to episode 170 of Understanding Darktable. Just before we dive in, one quick thing. I use OBS Studio to do my screen capture of the Darktable interface. And up until now, I've been capturing that at 50 frames per second. For this video, I've dropped it back to 25 frames per second because my final video that I render out of DaVinci Resolve is 25p. So I kind of figured, well, what's the point of capturing the screen at 50p if the final video is 25. So I'd be interested to know, when we get to looking at the Darktable interface and the mouse is moving around and I'm doing things, does the 25p screen capture look any different to the 50p screen capture that you would have seen in the previous video? Be keen to hear your thoughts. Anyway, let's get into it. Part 4 of 5 of what's new in Darktable 5.6. The next of the big ones is the Neural Restore module. And this is essentially 3 AI-assisted tools all bundled into one module. There is a raw denoise, a standard denoise, and an upscaler. So the raw denoise module should only be run when you know that the image has a problem with inherent noise. So typically that's going to be high ISO images. It should be run before you do any further processing of the image. Conversely, the standard denoise AI assisted tool is there to be run after you've done any other image manipulation. The raw denoise at the moment, and obviously this is August of 2026, there is only one raw denoise model available at the moment. That may change in the future, I don't know. But at the moment there is just the one model. With the denoise tool, there are multiple models available, but by default, only one will be downloaded and installed when you set up the AI tools within Darktable. So if we jump into our preferences and go to the AI tab, you will see which ones are default by the yes/no column on the right hand side. As you can see, I have downloaded a few extra models just for testing. With the denoise model, I ran some testing between the NIND model, which is the default, and the NAFNet model, and I saw huge differences in the processing time. So this is one of the images that I processed. It was shot at 16,000 ISO. If we just zoom in here, you can see the original image on the left and the image processed with the NIND model on the right. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of difference in the noise in that image. Now, what we are looking at is the output from the NIND model on the left and the output from the NAFNet model on the right. And again, we'll zoom in. And to my eye, it looks to me like NAFNet has altered the colors ever so slightly. So this is comparing the original on the left and the NAFNet version on the right. And again, I feel like the NAFNet version is a little more yellow than the original was. So your mileage may vary. These are just my observations. Now, what it is worth noting is that with the raw denoise and with the denoise tools, they each create a new file on disk. With the raw denoise, it will create a 16-bit DNG file. But regardless of that, if you run the raw denoise model, it will create a 16-bit DNG. Now that doesn't mean you magically picked up more color information. It simply means that the information you had in the original file is preserved in a bucket that's much bigger than it needs to be so that you can do further manipulation to that image, which is good. I mean, that's what you want. And then at the end of the pipeline, after you've done whatever other image manipulation you wish to do, you can then export an 8-bit JPEG and you've got the best of both worlds. And by the way, you can access the Neural Restore module from both the light table view or from the darkroom view. And it's worth noting that if you want to batch process images, and given the processing times required, I can understand why that's an option, because you might want to set this going before you go to bed one night, then you would use the Neural Restore module from the light table view, because that will allow you to select multiple images, dial in your preferences and hit process and just let it run for as long as it takes. Whereas if you're only working on a single image at a time, you might do that from within the darkroom view. It's entirely up to you and it makes no difference to the final outcome. So if we wanted to do a raw denoise, pick another image just for the fun of it. We'll go with this one. The strength slider, you might think that if you set it at 0, it's simply giving you the input from the original file, and that if you set it to 100%, you're getting 100% of the AI raw denoise model. But it is not just a simple blend. It uses a wavelet decompose, which I don't fully understand, to give you a blend between the two. What is worth noting is that you click on the little preview window here and it gives you a split screen preview between the input file and the output after the AI has done its thing. What I have found is that the 100% value tends to soften the image quite a lot, as is typical of any denoising algorithm. I've generally found in my testing that somewhere between 50 and 60% gives me a nice combination of retained detail but still decent denoising. Your mileage may vary. Once you've decided on a strength value, you've got some output parameters, a checkbox to add it to the current collection, and a folder where the new file will be generated. And by default, it goes with file folder, which means put it alongside the actual input image. So they sit side by side on your file system. It's also worth noting that by default, the image will inherit any image grouping that currently exists. So if you have grouped, the original input image is grouped with other images, then the output AI raw denoised version, the DNG file, will also be included in that image group. Likewise, any tags that exist in the input file will be passed on to the output DNG file. So, all your tags are retained as well. So that's pretty cool. One other thing, it defaults to the center of the image for the preview. If you want to see a specific part of the image, like particularly if you've got a face in there, you can click on the eyedropper. It will then allow you to pick a particular part of the image in the preview window. So we can do something like that. And now we can see what it's going to do to the faces in our image before we've processed. Once you're happy with all of that, click on process, and down here in the right hand corner you will see it doing its thing, generating that DNG file. And as you can see on my RTX 3070, that took it, 10 seconds, 12 seconds, something like that. So it wasn't a super long time. It's not too bad. The denoising, totally different kettle of fish. Okay, moving on to the denoise tab of the Neural Restore engine. I've got another image that was shot at 1600 ISO. And again, if we want to generate a preview, we click in the preview window. That then generates a preview based on the center of the image. Again, if you want to look at a specific part of the image, you can simply click on the eyedropper and it will then generate a preview in that particular part of the image. So again, we can see what that denoise is doing before and after. And again, you can see I've got that set to 50% strength. Personally, I would set the output profile at linear rec 2020 because that is going to ensure that you're working in a large color space for the output file. The denoise and the upscale tool within the Neural Restore module will both generate not a DNG file but a TIFF file. And so they will inherit the color profile that you choose here in the tab. That's why in restore-denoise you don't see that option for a profile because it's creating a DNG file. So I personally would lean towards linear rec 2020, but that's up to you. Try it out with a couple of different settings and see what you like. Again, add to the current collection and store it where you found the original input. Now, as I stated earlier, the restore-denoise only comes with one particular model. And by default, when you download and install the AI tools and you activate them within Darktable, the denoise and the upscaler will also come with one model. But there are extra models available to download if you want, and I will include that link in the description down below as well. If we go back to preferences to AI, you can see that I have downloaded some extra models. And when you download those extra models, you can put them anywhere you like on your file system because you are simply going to go import from file. I've got a folder here that I've called AI models for Darktable, and you just select, and you can import multiple at one time if you need to, and then click open, and that will import those models into your preferences. Only one model can be active for denoise or for masking at a time, or for upscaling. So as you will see, I now have 2 different denoises, 3 different masks, and 2 different upscalers. And you can see which one's default, and you can activate whichever one you want accordingly. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the processing time differs between models, and in some instances to quite a significant degree. So if image quality is paramount, do some testing, work out which model works best for you. If it is the one that takes the longest, then you'll probably want to set a batch process going one night before you go to bed. All right, I think that will do it for the Neural Restore module. That was probably a whole video in its own right. So much stuff to cover. Crazy. Questions, comments, sing out down below. I'll catch you in the next one.